Channel 12 audio check 1. Channel 12 audio check 2. Channel 12 audio check 2. Channel check audio 3, channel 12 audio 3.
Testing 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3 4.
Channel 12, mic 3. Channel 12, mic 4. Channel 12, mark 5. Channel 12, mic 6. Channel 12, mic 7. Channel 12, mic 8. Channel 12, podium. Staff 1. Staff 2. Staff 3. Staff 4. Staff 5. Staff 6. Staff 7. Staff 8.
Hi, nice to see you again. I didn't know you were coming. She didn't tell me, but here. I'm not sure I can stay to the end of the meeting.
Call this meeting of the Board of Supervisors of Tuesday, August 6, 2013 to order. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Bronson?
Present.
Supervisor Carroll? Present. Supervisor Elias? Present. Supervisor Miller?
Here.
Chairman Valadez?
Present.
Let the record show that all members are present.
Today's invocation will be offered by Reverend Lois Bly of Eastside Assembly of God and will be followed by a Pledge of Allegiance by Supervisor Bronson. Everyone, please stand.
Thank you. Blessed is the nation whose God is Lord, and he is faithful to bless those who trust him. Let's pray. Father God, we ask that you would grant wisdom, discernment, insight, and hearts that are open to your leading, that biblical principles might prevail in this meeting. We pray that you would strengthen each council member by the power of your might. It's in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend. Next, we move on to Pause for Pause, and we have a joint presentation, I believe, today, don't we? Kim James?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. As you know, Pima County has several dog owners in our community, and last year we licensed over 112,000 of those owners. We feel there's many, many more to do. And so we've launched a campaign. Next slide, please. To pick a top dog, put on a poster, and share in our community places where people go to let them know. For those that don't know, licensing is required in all of our cities, towns, and in the county here. And we want those that aren't aware to take aware of that. And those of us that forget at times to get our dogs licensed on time, oh yeah, I got to do that, so let me get that taken care of. So we have done that, and to that end, we picked a poster dog that the Sheriff's Department helped us with. Next slide, please. It resulted in this poster that will be shared with our veterinarian community and the vet's offices and other places, pet stores and other places. We hope to share it widely with your offices, of course, to get the word out that licensing is a great thing for your pet. It helps us get them back to you if it wanders off or somehow gets away from you. So with that, we appreciate the time, and I'll turn the time over to Officer Bowden to talk a little bit about, as you always do for us, our Pause for Pause Pet, to let folks know you can get great dogs at the Animal Care Center as well as other shelters in the county.
So where is Oliver's official portrait hanging?
I'm sorry?
Where is Oliver's official portrait? Where is it hanging?
That's a great question, and apparently it's going to be...
I want to know what district he is in, because that looks like a great campaign poster, and I'm getting worried.
It's hanging right here right now, but it will be posted promptly throughout the county offices. Thank you very much. And I will reserve the right to refuse to answer the question which district is in at this point.
Mr. Chairman,
already the honor.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say thanks for coming up and continually bringing us creative ways to bring pets into the lives of families. I see recently we're offering free dogs to teachers. Right, whoever's idea that was, I think it's a great idea. Thanks again, Kim, for being here. Do a great job.
Good morning. I'll be brief. I want to keep the focus on what Mr. James has had to say this morning about licensing your dog. This is Butters. He's available for adoption. He's a couple years old, came in as a stray and is looking for a home. He's been in our facility since May, so he spent his entire summer with us. He is available right away for adoption. He, as they mentioned, they're running the adoption specials for free to teachers, just have to pay for the licensing fee. And if not, because he's been with us so long, his fee is reduced to $10. So $25 with the license gets him out the door. So Butters is a great option, but we have hundreds and hundreds of great animals down there. So please take the time to take a look at our animals if you're interested in a pet. And I appreciate your time as well. Thank you.
Supervisor Elias, do you have a comment?
Midvale Park dog. That's what it looks like to me, Joe. You know. Yeah, absolutely, man. You know, right there. Anyways, please, be generous and adopt a dog for another family.
Well,
if
we
you
don't
make
have
one for yourself.
we don't have a teacher in the audience, but we have a member of the Flowing Wells School Board in the
You know,
audience.
that's close enough, isn't it?
Jerry.
All right, thank you. We do have several changes to the agenda. On regular agenda, page 1, item 8, and page 2, items 9 and 10, Library District Board grant acceptance. It reads Institute of Museum and Library Sciences. It should read Arizona State Library, Archives, and Public Records Agency. Staff requests a correction of grantor's name for these items. The agenda should read, as I said, Arizona State Library, Archives, and Public Records Agency. Page 7, item number 34, Transportation Unfinished Business. Staff requests this item be removed from the agenda. On consent calendar, item number, page 9, item number 1, Contract and Award, Community and Economic Development, Humane Borders Incorporated. I've requested that this be moved to the Board of Supervisors meeting of August 19th. Without objection, those will be the changes to the agenda. And I'm going to change the order around just a little bit. I'm going to go to the addendum agenda, item number 2, addendum item number 1, and then addendum item number 4 in that order, and then we'll proceed from there. So we'll go ahead and start with addendum item number 2, Major League Soccer Initiatives through Tucson Visit.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Elias.
Mr. Chairman, this continues our commitment to spring training here in Tucson for Major League Soccer. And I think we've brought a lot of dollars to our community that never even would have come to our community doing this. But we've also inspired a lot of our children to continue playing soccer and keep along that healthy track. We're going to continue doing that. And I think you'll see that our commitment to soccer is countywide, not just at Keno, but Keno is the hub. And that is where it's going to take place. And we look forward to that. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and move item 2 on the addendum.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Are there any questions on the item? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 1 on the addendum agenda. Mr. Huckleberry.
Mr. Chairman, this is a application for a Growing Smarter grant. It adds to our already established Tortolita Mountain Park, adding another 800 acres associated with the property. This is really the last chance the county has, or really potentially most anybody in Arizona, to take advantage of the Growing Smarter grants that were approved by the legislature, wherein they pay 1/2 of the cost associated with this acquisition. These are 800 acres adding to the already about 5,400 acre Tortolita Mountain Park. The current estimate, or the estimate of value made by the State Land Department, is $2.5 million. It's a high side estimate. Actual appraisals will be used for the actual acquisition, along with a public process associated with an auction. We're hopeful that the actual cost will be lower than that. We're then obligated to provide half of the total cost through and match the grant from the state, and that really puts our maximum exposure at about $1.25 million. We are using $775,000 for our part of our match that is in the Willow Ridge Mitigation Fund, which was a wildlife corridor fund established from a development. And what we have done is open space bonds acquired the very first acquisition of property in that wildlife corridor at about $750,000. So we're pretty close to matching the equivalency, and so we believe it's appropriate to use the Willow Ridge Wildlife Mitigation Fund for part of the match. The balance of the match is going to have to come from the county's what we call unallocated ending fund balance that is in excess of that budgeted. Every year we know that our ending fund balance is greater than budgeted. We really don't know how much until our final audit is done sometime in October. But we have enough preliminary information to know that that excess fund balance is at least $450,000 to $475,000, which would then be the balance of this match. And so we're recommending this action even though we have to allocate a portion of the general fund of our unbudgeted ending fund balance simply because this is probably our last opportunity to use Growing Smarter monies to have the state match the acquisition and build on Tortolita Mountain Park. This action has been also recommended and concurred in by the Oro Valley Mayor and Council because it mostly affects the northern boundary of Oro Valley. And so what we're doing is recommending the board adopt the resolution, which really is your official intent to provide the matching funds. That process will continue. We'll get a final appraisal from the state. We'll go to public auction and hopefully acquire the property.
Questions from the board? Hearing none, what's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
I'll go ahead and move item 1, including resolution 2013-67 and item 1B.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving item 1A and B in resolution number 2013-67 on the addendum agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 4 on the addendum agenda. The request for allocation from the Board Contingency Fund of the Micro Business Advancement Center's grant application for economic development in Ajo. Supervisor Brunson or Mr. Aguirre?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we've been approached by the Micro Business Advancement Center for matching funds for a grant that they're going to apply for from the Rural Business Enterprise Grant from the federal government, the Department of Agriculture. We believe it's a wise investment and that it can in fact provide significant economic development benefits for the community of Ajo. They would be obviously the grant applicee and provide the type of work that the grant would require. So we're actually supporting this allocation as part of our economic development package, particularly in rural Arizona.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move the item, and I want to commend Mac. I think we've got the director present. I appreciate him being here today, and am pleased to support this. I think Ajo is really on the cutting edge in terms of how to do rural economic development. ISDA International Sonoran Desert Alliance with the development of the Curley School. This is just another step in moving forward with rural economic development. So with that, I'm going to move item 4A and B in resolution 2013-69.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 4A and B in resolution number 2013-69. Any discussion? Hearing none. Oh.
How was that 4th of July parade over there in Ajo this year, Sharon? What was at our last meeting? We were talking about that.
Uh-huh.
I believe you were going to get an invitation, weren't you?
No.
Well, I missed you.
Unfortunately, I was unable to attend. That's why I was following up with a question now.
Yeah, no, it's and you'll have an opportunity. We have International Day of Peace, where there's some cross-border cultural things going on in September. It's a big event at the plaza, and I'm going to invite you to come join us then.
Well, I'd be glad to make it if I can, absolutely.
All right.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Now I'll go ahead and go back to the regular order of the agenda. I believe we have item number 5, the Drowning Impact Awareness Month that Supervisor Bronson obviously will be doing.
I'll move the item.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 5. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it.
And I think, Tracy, you're here, aren't you? Very nice. Proclamation. Whereas Drowning Impact Awareness Month will raise awareness that the number and impact of child drownings in Arizona affects everyone. And whereas the drowning incidents in Arizona take the lives of the equivalent of a classroom of children each year. And whereas as a child drowning can happen to any family regardless of education, race, or socioeconomic background. And whereas families can take simple steps to protect their children around water to avoid the tragedy of the unnecessary loss of life. And whereas water safety remains a priority for Arizona families, communities, and government, and the Drowning Prevention Coalition of Arizona. And whereas this is the 10th anniversary of Water Watchers at Phoenix Children's Hospital spearheading the August Drowning Impact Awareness Month proclamation in an effort to raise awareness and increase understanding and education of effective ways to prevent drownings in Arizona. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Pima County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaim August 1st, 2013 through August 31st, 2013 to be Drowning Impact Awareness Month, passed and adopted this 6th day of August 2013. Thank you. And Tracy, you just won an award. Why don't you talk about that?
The National Fire Protection Association selected me as their Educator of the Year for 2013 for the country. So.
Wait, free dog. Free dog, right?
Yeah, the dog. All right. Well, as you know, fire safety is near and dear to our heart, as well as injury prevention, and water safety is very important. And thank you for wearing purple today for the Purple Ribbon campaign. So if you see purple ribbons out in the community in August, it's because we want to make sure that we're remembering to be careful around the water and watch the children. August is the month because the numbers tend to rise. Back to school distractions, maybe we're a little bit more lax in our water safety rules. So it's really important in August when those things are going on that the water's still out there and the kids are around. So we need to be careful. We want to keep those numbers low. And we have already had a water incident on August 1st. So we want to have that be it for the year. Exactly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you. Moving on to item 6, the 238th anniversary of the City of Tucson. Supervisor Elias?
I'll move the item.
Second.
Motion and second to approve item number 6. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Supervisor Elias, would you do the honors?
Sure.
And I believe Sharon Chadwick and Mary McCune are here. Oh, okay. Well, you have some too.
You know, Tucson's birthday is one of those things that I always have a lot of interest in. My family is one of the pioneer families here in Tucson, so it's of great connection to me personally and great connection to our history. 238 years of European American influence here in the area has been great. You know, we've had a great ride, and we've created a great community that we all love and live in and cherish and protect. But the 4,000 years of presence of humanity here at the base of a mountain really speaks to the profundity of our community. And that's why we're called the Old Pueblo. And that's why we believe in that stuff. And that's why we'll always be the Old Pueblo. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation. And I said 4,000 years of history because we've actually done archaeological digs that have provided us evidence that there is 4,000 years of history in our community. So, with that, whereas the city of Tucson has a past of great antiquity, having been first a settlement of Native Americans more than 2,000 years ago. And whereas Lieutenant Colonel Hugh O'Connor of the Royal Spanish Army on August 20th, 1775, established the Presidio San Agustín de Tucson, within the boundaries of the area presently surrounded on the north by Washington Street, on the east by Church Avenue, on the south by Pennington Street, and on the west by Main Avenue. Whereas the flags of the Tohono O'odham Nation, the Pascuayaqui tribe, Spain, Mexico, the Confederacy, the United States, and Arizona have been raised within the ancient and honorable Pueblo. And whereas this community is dedicated to the preservation of its heritage, architecture, historically significant sites, and its diverse cultures and traditions. And whereas Arizonans should remember the gallant deeds of all our forebears and commemorate them with an appropriate ceremony, now therefore be it resolved that the Pima County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims this month of August and the day of August 20th as the time for all residents of Pima County to observe the 238th anniversary of the city of Tucson and participate in the ceremonies and activities that commemorate this event, passed and adopted the 6th day of August 2013. And, you know, if any of you ever have a chance to go to the Presidio Recreation right over here on Washington and Church, it's an interesting little place, and check out those buildings that have been recreated there. It's kind of fun going in them, and, you know, you see the adobe around you, and you think, God, it's pretty cool in here. But don't be fooled. That's R19 in the ceiling. That's not really an adobe building. It was still pretty hot when those folks were here. So thank you all for listening for a minute, and I'm going to ask you to say a few words for us.
Thank you. I'm Marty McCune with the Tucson-Pima County Historical Commission, and Supervisor Elias gave me a very nice segue into talking about the ceremony that we're going to have on August 20th at the Presidio San Agustin del Tucson at the corner of Church and Washington Streets. We're doing it in the evening this year as we did last year. We start at 6 o'clock. We do a ceremony with all of the flags. We do ceremonial signing of the proclamation and a reading of the Hugo O'Connor document that designated this area as the location of the Presidio de Tucson. So we'd like to invite everybody in the community to come join us. We'll also end the ceremony with a wonderful birthday cake and lemonade, and we're going to have paletas this year since it's warm in August. At any rate, we hope you'll come and join us. We know Supervisor Elias is scheduled to be there, and we invite all the rest of the board and everybody else in the community to come join us for the celebration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marty. They also fire off the cannon, and it scares the hell out of everybody. It's really kind of fun. Anyways, take care.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
Just want to say thank you to Ms. McCune for being here today. I had the great joy of attending a Pima County Historic Commission meeting recently. Really appreciate the work that you do in trying to preserve and protect our heritage here. I know that Mr. Elias had mentioned the old Pueblo in part of his introduction, and I haven't had the chance. I don't know if the commission's had a chance to chime in of the possible renaming of the old Pueblo, but I'd like to go on record to say I don't want it to be the Copper Pueblo, the Pueblo Bamboozle, the get-rich-quick city. I like Old Pueblo just as it is, and I hope all of you do too. Thank you for bringing it up, Mr. Elias, and I hope that your commission does take a position on the naming of the Old Pueblo if it suits you. Thanks, and God bless the work you do.
Thank you, Supervisor Carroll. I'm going to go ahead and move a little off the regular. I'm going to move to addendum item 21, the Small Business Commission. It's my understanding that many members of the Small Business Commission are here, so I'm going to ask the chair to please come up, identify yourself for the record, please introduce the other commissioners, and proceed with your report, please.
My name is Ken Goodman, and I am chairman of the Pima County Small Business Commission. Pardon me? We do have other commissioners here today, and I will like to announce their presence at the conclusion of my report. Chairman Valadez, members of the board, Mr. Huckleberry, in accordance with board resolution number 2009260, it is my pleasure to transmit to you the 2012-2013 annual report of the Pima County Small Business Commission. As I am sure you are aware from the various reports and memoranda the Commission and the County Administrator have provided you during the fiscal year, you have a very hard-working, proactive, and dedicated Commission. This annual report briefly summarizes 5 accomplishments of the last year and 5 projects the Commission will undertake during the 2013-2014 fiscal year. The Commission is most appreciative of the support the Board and the Administration have provided during the last year. You may be rest assured that this Commission will work hard during the coming year to represent the interests of small business in Pima County and to provide the Board with the necessary information to help make Pima County a friendly environment for small business. Here is a brief list of 5 of our accomplishments for 2012-2013. Number 1, the final report on a proposal for a small business revolving loan fund was completed by the Commission in May of this year. With the dedication of our former chair and now the vice chair of our Commission, Tom Ward, a roadmap has been established to implement the Pima Prosperity Fund, as we are calling it, and I will elaborate and give you details of this revolving loan fund when I share with you our projects for 2013 and 2014. Number 2, in line with the county's economic development plan and in keeping with its mission to facilitate communication with small businesses throughout Pima County, the Small Business Commission traveled to Ajo on April 18th, 2013 to learn the successes and challenges experienced by the business community in this rural, dynamic area of the county. The Commission's fact-finding mission included a tour of the new Ajo Visitor Center, located in the newly restored Ajo Train Depot, and culminated with a joint meeting of the Commission and the Ajo Business Roundtable Forum. The Commission heard from numerous Ajo businesses, the Ajo District Chamber of Commerce, the International Sonoran Desert Alliance, and several Pima County departments that serve Ajo. The Small Business Commission wishes to extend its appreciation to Pima County Supervisor Sharon Bronson for facilitating this joint meeting, and it was a great success.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming down.
Number 3, many commissioners and their constituents, particularly those in the restaurant, retail, and automotive repair trades, have voiced complaints about credit card business practices. Fees and credit card company regulations are of concern to these merchants, along with the slowness with which credit card processors make payment on their credit card charges. While the Commission realized this is an issue under which the county has little control, it believed that an investigation of this matter could focus the spotlight on public opinion on this issue and perhaps generate state or federal action. Under the leadership of Commissioner Edie Lake, who was appointed by the Commission to spearhead the investigation of credit card processing, the Commission developed a series of recommendations concerning fee structure, approval fees, cancellation fees, equipment costs, and a vendor's code of ethics. These recommendations we forwarded to Mr. Mallory Duncan, who is the Senior Vice President and General Counsel for the National Retail Association, on November 30th, 2012. That organization was heading a class action lawsuit against the major credit card companies and their processors. Earlier this year, the U.S. District Court in New York authorized a $6.05 billion settlement, which the companies involved and began processing retailers' claims. The Small Business Commission is pleased to have played a small part in the successful resolution of this matter and will continue to monitor credit card processing activities. Number 4. The Commission's 4th Annual Small Business of the Year Award saw an expansion in 2013 with 2 awards being presented. One for business within the City of Tucson and one for a business within Pima County but located outside of Tucson city limits. In addition, 2 cash awards of $500 were provided, one from Pima County Supervisor Sharon Bronson and one from the Department of Economic Development and Tourism. The City or Urban Award went to the Casa de los Niños thrift store located at 1302 East Prince Road. With 21 employees and more than 24 volunteers, this store has been in business for 39 years. A major force for good in the community, the nonprofit Casa de los Niños thrift store was instrumental when leveraged with other financial support in allowing Casa de los Niños to serve 4,472 children and 2,740 families in fiscal year 2012. Additionally, the thrift store provides vouchers to program families for use to obtain items including furniture, clothing, housewares, toys, books, and more. This fiscal year, over $3,000 in voucher support was distributed. The County or Rural Award, as we're calling it, went to Second Generation Inc., doing business as Ajo Transportation. This 10-year-old for-profit company located at 1248 North 2nd Avenue in Ajo has 19 employees and a fleet of 12 buses. With a service population of nearly 70,000 people through a service contract with the Regional Transportation Authority, Valley Metro, Ajo Dial-A-Ride, and individual routes to Gila Bend, Buckeye, Avondale, Goodyear, and Phoenix, the company provided transportation for more than 69,000 riders last year. Ajo Transportation is owned by Kathy Hutton, a native of Ajo. The company's slogan is, "We are here so you can be there." These awards shall be given to these companies at your next meeting in September. Also, the Small Business Commission is particularly pleased that it had 13 finalists for this year's award. Number 5, because of the success of our local preference program for professional services for architectural and engineering firms, the Commission explored the possibility of extending this program to qualified general contractors and subcontractors. This was a complicated issue with many challenges for the Commission. For example, while most vertical contractors such as building contractors, renovation, and repair contractors are small businesses, most horizontal contractors such as highway, sewer, water, and other utility contractors have more than 100 employees and thus do not fit the county's definition of a small business. In addition, local preference is forbidden by federal regulation for any project using federal funds. In talking with representatives of Pima County's construction industry, the Commission found almost no interest expressed in pursuing a local preference program. Federal restrictions on such programs, as well as skepticism about the viability of the local preference program for architects and engineers, then in its infancy, appeared to be the main reasons for this lack of interest. However, now that the architectural and engineering local preference program has proven to be a success, the Commission may revisit this project in the future if time and resources permit. I would at this time like to take the opportunity to give you an update on how the local preference program for architects and engineers is going. As you know, last year we all had a part in making this local preference a reality. As of the first quarter of this year, that is January 1st to March 31st, there have been 5 solicitations put out by the county for architectural and engineering services. Of the 5, 3 of the contracts were awarded to local Pima County firms where the local preference ordinance had a positive influence on the award. That is a 60% success rate, a rate I think that we can all be proud of. Now I would like to go over and report on the 5 projects and goals that we have for 2013-2014. First one up. On May 13th, 2013, the Small Business Commission submitted its final report on the proposed Small Business Revolving Loan Fund. This has been rechristened the Pima Prosperity Fund, otherwise known as PPF, to the County Administrator's Office with a request that it be forwarded to the Pima County Board of Supervisors for approval by resolution. Representatives of the Commission met with the Department of Economic Development and Tourism and the County's Attorney's Office on May 28th to make minor modifications to the report that ensured the county would have no obligations regarding who was awarded a loan and no liability associated with a loan that goes into default. As of this moment, the proposal awaits County Administrator's final recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. While no public monies are involved in the PPF proposal, it is important that basic conditions for obtaining a loan be enforced to ensure that the public purpose of job creation and retention and tax base expansion are met. In our report to you, you will be able to review further details of this proposal. In the Commission's opinion, Pima County is still feeling the effects of the Great Recession. No matter what Wall Street says, it is still evident in large parts of the country and this county. Also, we have seen in recent reports, sequestration is about to make things even more difficult for small businesses. Small business people that I talk to say that they are still battling the banks to secure credit. This bold move at least tries to mitigate the hardships still felt by Pima County small businesses. Number 2, business in Mexico is a growth industry. In manufacturing, in trade, in the education of engineers, Mexico is moving forward. Today, Mexico exports more manufactured products than the rest of Latin America put together. Mexico has signed 44 free trade agreements, more than any other nation in the world, more than twice as many as China, and more than 4 times as many as Brazil, 2 countries touted for their growth. The Small Business Commission believes there is a possible role for Pima County small businesses to play in Mexico's growth, particularly in exploring Mexico's growing population, 50% of which is under the age of 29. The Commission will explore both trade and tourism opportunities with Mexico for Pima County small businesses. The Commission will work with Visit Tucson, Inc. and the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in these endeavors. Number 3, in line with the county's economic development plan, the Commission will continue its program to help small businesses in outlying Pima County. The Commission will look at communities such as Green Valley, Arivaca, Amado, and Vail, and work with local business organizations to develop this program. Number 4, the Commission will again sponsor the 5th Annual Small Business of the Year Award in 2014. The Commission will again have 2 awards, one urban and one rural, and it hopes to continue the cash awards instituted this year. The recipients will be honored at a Board of Supervisors meeting in the spring of 2014. And finally, the Pima County Sports and Tourism Authority fosters and supports amateur and professional sports. Expanded sport tourism activity means business for Pima County small businesses, whether it is eating out after an FC Tucson soccer game or spending a weekend in town to watch or participate in the Tour de Tucson. Both local and out-of-town visitors spend money with small businesses during these events. As it is done with the Visit Tucson, the Commission will work during the coming year with the Sports and Tourism Authority to promote increased tourism activities. It is particularly interested in developing a relationship between certain sporting events and the restaurant and hospitality industry. That concludes my report. At this time, I would like to recognize a few of Pima County Small Business Commissioners that are in attendance today. And will you please stand when I mention your name? Tom Ward, Lyra Doan, Jerry Long, and Patty Brown.
And Edie Lake. What about Edie Lake?
And Edie Lake.
I think we have one more person on the Business Commission here. Mark Fincher.
Oh, Mark Fincher. I didn't see him earlier. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
Again, I just wanted to say thanks. The leadership is really appreciative that you've shown. I know that big shoes to fill, Mr. Ward. I know how hard he worked on that annual report. I just want to say your stated goals are achievable and admirable. Obviously, local preference is something that we take pride in. We're trying to continue that course, and I will stand behind that effort. The obvious sports and tourism issues, you've got Brent Durad here today. I'm glad he's here. I really appreciated recently I got to take my own trade and tourism junket arranged by Felipe Garcia to Rocky Point to look at the issues of the recovery there and how we can hopefully achieve together some prosperity in the next few years through better cooperation. I met with Hector Vasquez and the trade and tourism he feels is coming along. We understand there's a lot of infrastructure dollars going to be spent by the Mexican government, and we hope that that can come close to our border to achieve some united prosperity in the next few years. Lastly, I just want to say I felt that felt the draw of Aho as I went through 83. I'm glad you had your meeting there. I know John. Sure. I went as far as I could on a tank of gas. But I will say that it's a great pleasure to have you, and I appreciate all the members, what you've done and what you continue to do. And I'm very delighted that you're here today. Thank you. And lastly, I must tell you that I'm looking forward to seeing the Casa gang here from the thrift store. Rose and everyone else. I was the manager at Casa de los Niños in the 80s when they decided to move off of Campbell. Remember the old storefront they had, just a few, maybe 1,000 feet plus, and to the big building on Prince and Mountain. Everyone doubted it would happen, but they had faith, and some prayers went with that faith. And it just shows that these local green recycling thrift stores like Assistance League, St. Vincent de Paul, or the White Elephant in Green Valley can make a huge difference, while at the same time recycling goods and putting them back into the community and homes that maybe couldn't afford them on the first time around, but they're not junk. They're just lightly used materials that you find in these thrift stores, and they're a great effort to put them on the shelves, but there's even better use of them once they're put into the families that come in to buy them. So thanks so much. God bless.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, on behalf of this board, thank you to you and the commissioners, both the ones that are here and the ones that aren't, for all your work. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion on to adopt the report?
Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and move that we adopt the report, the 2013 annual report of the Small Business Commission of Pima County.
Second.
Motion and a second to adopt the 2013 annual report of the Small Business Commission. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to flood control, or Board of Supervisors sitting as Board Flood Control District Board, item number 7.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the item.
Motion in 2 seconds to approve the item. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to Library District Board, 8,
Mr.
9,
Chairman?
and 10.
I'm going to move items 8, 9, and 10, and thank all our librarians for their good work and
As
for working on getting these grants.
I'll second it as amended, because we changed some.
As amended, yes, that's correct, because we did amend this item. Thank you, Supervisor Bronson.
Motion and a second to approve under Library District Board. It's item 8, 9, and 10 as amended. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Board of Supervisors sitting in regular session. Consent calendar. I don't have any cards. I do not have any cards. Is there anyone here who would like to address the board on a consent calendar item only? Seeing none, what's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to pull item number 1 for a separate vote, and then I have some questions on item 42 for clarification.
Item number 1 has been continued.
Oh, that one has been continued. Okay,
Okay,
never mind.
please ask your questions on the other items.
Okay. On item 42, this is the item where Reddington Livestock is going to be taking over the management of the A7 Ranch and taking over the management of the county's herd. And this agreement will eliminate the necessity of the county to have livestock managers that we currently have now. And is the county going to recognize savings as a result of no longer having to manage this livestock?
Mr. Huckleberry?
Mr. Chairman, obviously the Cowboys, who are the livestock managers, I think transferred to the contractor. And so there's a kind of a seamless, yeah, we will receive a savings, but it's probably in the range of $50,000 to $60,000.
So they did go ahead and transfer over, and they're working for.
As far as I
Reddington
know,
Livestock.
yes.
Okay,
yes.
thank
I
you.
mean,
Without
that's
that, I don't have.
typically because they have familiarity with the ranch and the herd and all the rest.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Supervisor Elias.
Are we ever going to have a barbecue or anything? I mean, we've been raising those cows for years. Just a thought, I don't know. It's Tucson's birthday.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
I think that's a great idea, Mr. Elias. I also have
If it
looked
rains
over.
free-range beef.
I've looked over the entire consent calendar, and as mentioned, one item was delayed. The others seem appropriate, and I'd like to move the consent calendar its entirety.
Mr. Chairman, I would like item on page 14, item 48, to be voted on separately, if I could. Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Carroll.
Apologize for that, then, Ms. Chairman, Ms. Soon-to-be Chairwoman.
48.
ADP, yes, ma'am.
So, Supervisor Carroll,
The maker of the
withdraw?
motion withdraws,
Okay.
and I'd like to try again to say that item 1 being delayed, item 48 being removed for separate vote or separated from the consent calendar. I'd like to move the consent calendar, the balance in its entirety at this time.
Second.
As amended, correct, sir.
Right. The motion before us is on the adoption of the consent calendar as amended, removing item number 48 for separate vote. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Item number 48.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. This contract, I think, is just until 6/30/14. But I have some issues with the projected annual cost. They will be reoccurring, and are they transaction different? I had asked for a copy of the original contract. I have yet to get it. But could someone please tell me if this is transaction driven?
Mr. Huckleberry, who's the appropriate staff member for the question?
Mr. Chairman, it would be the Human Resources Director who's not here, and, oh, there he is.
There he is. He's right there.
We also have the IT Director, and he is out on a medical knee issue this morning.
Mr. Bolzoni?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Bronson, it is not transaction driven. It's a price per employee per month for our insured employees.
And there's a track record that they come in low and then raise rates later. Is there a maximum increase limit tied to the federal cost of living? I mean, how are we?
Yes, it's tied to the cost of living. It's a minimum 0, maximum 3%.
Okay.
And like I say, we're hoping that we can switch over to the new ADP benefits program August 14th, 2014.
Hope is a 4-letter word. No.
We will switch over on August 14th.
All right.
What's the will of the board?
I will move the item, but could I get a copy of the original contract?
Is there a second?
With the
Second.
Yeah, I'll second. I want a copy of that contract too, because we've been waiting for how long now?
I don't know, a couple months.
8 weeks? Yeah, I was going to say at least that, since our first meeting in June, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, so the motion before us is on the approval of item number 48 on the consent calendar with staff direction to provide this board with copies of the contract. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number...
Mr. Chairman, before we leave consent calendar, may I please just take a very brief moment to say that 129 years out in the San Pedro Valley, he didn't ride a horse in this morning, but he rode in on a Chevrolet, most likely Andy Smallhouse. He's been the Ranch Conservation Award winner, Goodyear Award winner, conservation. We talked earlier about about the new management that he's going to be offering us with Reddington Livestock. And I just wanted to let you know, Supervisor Elias and all the rest, that it's a very public and transparent document, and we'd like to make sure that all those interested in range management had a chance to learn. Mr. Smallhouse is trying to reach out to the other members of our ranch communities and the employees that we have. I've learned about the replacement of the cowboys. He's very in touch with the community. He's already been out there looking at the fields, figuring out how to get the best he can from the earth. And lastly, I just want to see if Andy could stand up. Thank you, Andy, for being here. We do appreciate it. We put our trust in you. Thank you very much. And I hope you'll make Tucson's birthday party. You know, Andy, you've been here half the birthdays of Tucson, apparently. We hope you make it for the birthday party August 20th. Come on in, bring some beef for Mr. Elias. And lastly, I want to say I don't really know much about the whole 238 years. I'm more concerned about the next 238 years. God bless you. Good luck.
That was by way of personal privilege. Moving on back to the regular agenda, item number 13 and 14.
I'll move those items.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 13 and 14 on the regular agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Nay. By your vote of 4 to 1, motion carries. Moving to economic development and tourism, item number 15.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the item.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 15. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 16. Mr. Huckleberry, do you have some comments on the item?
Mr. Chairman, this item obviously was heard previously by the board in executive session. You asked that we finalize the potential lease and bring it back to the board for final approval after a public meeting. That public meeting was held at the fairgrounds. The results of it documented and put in the report to you. And I think we're just in the position at this point in time to have you accept and direct the staff to advertise the lease for proposals.
Are there any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Supervisor Miller.
I had a few questions on this. One of the things that struck me was that we don't have a termination clause in this contract, and I know this contract isn't finalized, and I understand that, but we have 400 acres of land that will be tied up for 5 years, and they have 18 months to commence work on it, and then they have 3 years that they're paying $100 per year. I think we should have, in the event that they have some sort of financial issues or there is a problem going forward, I think we should have some sort of termination clause or some sort of bond in place to ensure that we do, in fact, not lose out on an opportunity with another possible vendor if we allow this to go forward with no termination clause in there. And the other item that I was concerned about was, how did we come up with $137,000 per year or 2% of growth revenues? Were there studies done on racetracks, other racetracks that have in Arizona? I just wonder how we arrived at this number.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, with regard to the termination clause or the termination, I'll let Neil Koenigsberg or Tom Moulton respond to that. That's really a county attorney's issue. With regard to the value, it's based on an appraisal of the property and a minimum amount of recoverable fee per the actual appraisal of the property.
Mr. Koenigsberg.
Mr. Chairman and Supervisor Miller, the lease will provide for a performance bond to ensure that the project is completed. That will be one of the requirements. And as far as the appraisal, the land was appraised as vacant land. It was not appraised specifically for it's appraised as its highest and best use, and that was the appraisal figure that we received. We did have an outside appraiser appraise the property.
Okay. And one of the things on the wording on the contract, I don't have the page number, but it says a minimum public investment of $15 million, and I believe we meant private investment on there. I just wanted to point that one out when I read through the lease. I don't remember what page that was on, but that's something I think we need to clarify. I can give you the page number if you want to contact my office. I have it highlighted there. And the noise mitigation, again, that's another one that we're directing them on methodology based on what I read from the contract versus giving them a goal that they have to meet at a certain level of decibels at the property line. Do we want to get into that business of defining how they do it, or do we want to give them a limit on decibels at a certain property line, various locations throughout the property?
Yeah. Mr. Moulton?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, two things. One, if that's a public investment, that's something we will correct. It's a private investment, but the moment the investment is made, it becomes public property.
Right.
And and so we'll make sure that's very clear in the lease, because we've had that confusion, pretty much throughout this process that the county was putting investment dollars in this venture, and we're not.
Right.
The second point is performance. We would prefer that the decibel level be set and that the operator be given the flexibility, because what we're after is a performance, not necessarily how to direct the action. Our experience is that when we get in directing the action, we take responsibility for the performance.
Right, right, and that's what I read in there. There was a lot of direction on how they were supposed to meet the sound abatement requirements. And one last question. At the end of the lease, the lessee is required to return the property to the condition that it was originally. And are we going to do some sort of an assessment up front, and like an environmental assessment that proves that we in fact have provided a clean property to them, and that if there are any remediation required at the end of this lease, that we don't have to go to court or have to go through a process where we have to prove that the land was in fact in a certain condition at the beginning of the lease?
Yes, Mr. Chairman and Supervisor Miller, we actually have I think, performed our own environmental studies and reviewed the history of the property, and I think in the leasing we're actually indicating that it is not contaminated now, and what we would do at the end of the lease is make sure that they're certifying that the property is contamination free.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I had.
Madam Chair. I continue to have great concerns about this project because it's such a huge use of land, a tremendous amount of property out there that we're setting aside that essentially will render that corridor pretty much unusable for many other uses due to the amount of noise, the amount of traffic that you're going to have out there. But I still support it because I think it's an important part of the process that we're trying to go through in terms of redeveloping what makes this region tick, and what kind of amenities we're going to have available as a part of that. So that's really the salient issue in all of that. We can be assured that with all the gasoline tanks and everything else you have, there will be environmental degradation to the area. That's what happens with cars. That's what happens with racetracks. It's just a part of life. So recognize that that's what we are sentencing ourselves to and getting ourselves involved in, nonstop. So that's what makes this a kind of a difficult issue, and that's why I wanted to make sure that it was vetted in public. We did have one public meeting. I fully expect the public discussion on all of this to continue, frankly, and I hope that it does. Because it has some incompatible uses with the fairgrounds as well, and the animal kind of things that we have going on out there as well, aside from the county fair. I did have one question for Supervisor Miller. You mentioned you wanted to make sure that we kept available other options for vendors as they might come along. I'm not sure what you meant by that. Could you clarify that so I understand what you meant by that?
I guess I'm not sure what your question is. Other options for vendors. I'm not sure. What exactly are you talking about?
The comments that you made just a minute ago.
Oh, okay. One of the things that I talked about was the fact that if we're tying up this property for 4.5 years at a rate of $100 per year, if this contractor, whoever gets this contract initially, they're only paying $100 per year, and if they default, they've got it tied up. They can virtually hang on to this property for 5 years. And that was
right. I understand what you're saying now. Thank you very much.
That was my concern.
That's the sum of my comments. Thank you.
Is that we make sure that if they do in fact default, that we're able to take that property back in a timely manner. Thank you.
I'd like to move.
We have a speaker.
Oh, we have a speaker?
Oh, it's not. Oh, no.
Only if necessary, a speaker?
Oh, yeah, no, we do have a speaker. Richard Anderson. Is he there? Okay.
Are you AKA Andy Anderson?
I am indeed.
He
Well,
is,
we've
yes,
never
indeed.
met, but I've heard your name mentioned here.
My name's Richard Andy Anderson. I live at 4520 North Hacienda del Sol. Mr. Chairman, Board, Mr. Huckleberry, just wanted to say a few things. I'm an architect and I design raceways. And I know there can be contentious. I know there can be problems, but let me tell you what they can do. They create one-of-a-kind events, 3, 4, 5, 6 a year, like a Super Bowl event. Brings people from internationally, from all over the country. Mexico is known for its support of motorsports, and we'd be the closest racing venue to Mexico. These raceways have a long history of major contributions to charities in the way they operate. They generate hundreds of millions of dollars to the local economy over time. So you've got great benefit from that standpoint. Regarding noise, and I respect what's been said, but there are already 4 racing venues at the site. 2 of them will make more noise than the kind of vehicles that will run on this track. And then finally, in a community like ours where science and technology is so important, most of the benefits that you see in fuel economy and hybrid development happens on the racetrack. And there's a great opportunity for whoever operates this raceway with the University of Arizona and Pima College and the technical school about a mile away to do some great things in helping science and technology, again, create advances in a more carbon-free world. So these are all benefits that the raceway will provide, and I just want to be sure, having designed these kind of things across the country, I know what can happen when these raceways get up and work. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
We're glad you mentioned the Vale Vocational School. That's just on the same grounds as the fairground. Appreciate you keeping them. Darcy Mentone, the principal there, I think has already been working with the fairgrounds and the other race and equine facilities there. Automotive and health science is one of their 2 of their 3 focuses at that vocational school. So thank you very much. And again, I'd like to then move to approve and release the lease auction bid package for the new multi-use raceway located at 400 acres on Pima County Fairgrounds within the Southeast Regional Park.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I want to make mention of the fact that the chairman had a previous commitment and had to leave, so I will be assuming this position through the remainder of the meeting. And I want to say goodbye to Felipe and Garcia and Brent Durad from Visit Tucson. Thank you for attending. And with that, let's move to item 17.
Madam Chair?
Supervisor.
I'll go ahead and move item 17, Desert Heights Charter School Project, including resolution number 2013-63.
Second. Motion and a second. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving to item 18, we do have a speaker. John, are you? There you are.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Huckleberry. My name is John Becerra. I'm a chapter chairperson, SCIU Pima chapter, and I'm here to talk about the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. I'm happy to have worked with the Meet and Confer Committee that together worked with the county on this. We agreed on a number of items that made significant steps forward, not only for the MOU, but for all county employees. A number of items, including bilingual pay study, the catastrophic leave bank, and a pay scale shift, are meaningful and impactful for not only current employees, but future employees and the taxpayers. And it's a great opportunity for attracting excellent employees in the future. We take great pride in our job as the authorized employee representative. We are serious and glad to be able to work with the county management to continue to make positive improvements. We look forward in the coming year and to being of help in creating a more efficient Pima County. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity you gave us to do that.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Elias?
I'll go ahead and move item 18, meet and confer memorandum of understanding with Service Employees International Union.
Second.
Second.
And I would just comment that the whole issue of bilingual pay is something that we've talked about on this board for all the 11 years that I've been here. So it's good to see that we're finally getting around to doing a survey on that and getting a broader understanding of what that can really mean to our constituents and the people who live here in Pima County, because that's a big issue. Anyways, thank you.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Are there any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to item 19, transportation. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll move the item, Madam Chair.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Are there any objections? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Board of Supervisors sitting, these are hearings now. Item 20, appeal of review officer's decision. Staff?
Madam Chair, seeing that apparently there's no staff here, this is one of these quasi-judicial hearings. This is on the classification, Class 4 property. You had one of these back in June. In that case, the assessor appealed. I think this case is a case where the property owner appealed the decision of Mr. Burke, who sits as your designated hearing officer pursuant to these. These are just informal hearings that are conducted by the board, and the petitioner in this case would be the property owner, and you may wish to inquire if he's present.
Counsel?
Yeah, go ahead.
Madam Chair, Counsel, I don't see Mr. Mena here in the audience. Is there anybody here representing Mr. Mena?
Why don't we continue then? Or what do you want to do?
I'm not sure he has a legal ground to stand on from what I understand.
Okay.
You know, you can only have one primary residence, which Mr. Mena already has. And in essence, we're asking for a second one here, if I understand correctly.
Right.
Chris, in this type of proceeding, if I'm not mistaken, I could be, is this the proceeding where we're only allowed to receive new information that was not accepted at the original hearing?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Elias, in this case, the rules don't really have that express limitation. They do in zoning enforcement hearings, but in this case, it's a very informal, kind of wide open process.
This is not a zoning enforcement hearing.
And
I was wondering because it's kind of vague.
Yeah, it is. They are handled the same way that appeals from the boards of equalization are handled, or appeals to appeals to the Board of Equalization are handled. One other thing I would note is I had alerted also Mr. Staples. He would be essentially the appellee in this proceeding. I don't know if he is present either. If he's not, and if Mr. Mena is not, the prudent course may be to continue the matter.
Madam Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I had a question for Mr. Straub, I guess. According to this document, the home is currently classified as a non-primary residence, and the appellant is appealing this based upon he's remodeling the home for his daughter while she's going to be living at the University of Arizona, which doesn't make it a primary residence. No. It would be a secondary residence. So is that my understanding correct on this?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Miller, I would normally represent or provide legal advice in most matters that come before the board, but this one, because you're sitting in as a quasi-judicial capacity, and our office also represents both the assessor and the board, we don't provide substantive advice in this thing. That would be normally something you would address to the assessor or to Mr. Mena and his representative, and they would provide that answer to you.
Supervisor Elias.
Madam Chair, given that Mr. Mena's not here, I'd ask the board to consider my motion, which I'm going to make, to continue this item for 30 days, so we give him a chance to come here and hear what he has to
So
say.
the first meeting in September?
That'll be the first meeting in September. That'll probably be fine.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to continue till the first meeting in September. Are there any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to franchises, licenses, and permits.
Madam
What's the
Chair?
pleasure of the board?
I'll go ahead and move to close the public hearing on items 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25, and approve those items.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to item 26, appeal of the procurement director's decision pursuant to code with Oracle Systems, Inc. and VIX HVAC Repair, LLC. Staff?
Madam Chair, members of the board, solicitation number 95799.
Please indicate your name for the record so people observing know who you are.
Sure. George Whittegris, Procurement Director. Solicitation number 95799 is for HVAC services for residential homes and includes the removal and replacement of furnaces, evaporative coolers, and various other related items. The two respondents appealing the dismissal of their protest, Oracle Control Systems and VIX HVAC Repair, feel that the wording in paragraph 3 of the offer agreement is at least ambiguous and would have no material effect on the bid process or integrity. They further feel that they did not think this paragraph required additional documentation be submitted with the bid. The information that should have been supplied with their bids is a copy of their contractor's license and reference information. On the second page of the solicitation, under the heading Instructions to Bidders, it states, to be evaluated and considered for award of contract, the offeror shall submit with the offer agreement all documents specified in Article 3, Supplier Minimum Qualifications. Both firms did not comply with this requirement, which is routine in solicitations of this type. This information allows the county to quickly validate the responsiveness and responsibility of respondents to our solicitations. It is important to note that had they been responsive, VIX HVAC Repair would have been second low bid and may have obtained some business as a secondary supplier, estimated to be worth $50,000 over 5 years. During the past 5 years, we did not have a secondary supplier. Oracle Control Systems would have been third low bid. The low bid that is being recommended was responsive and did provide the required information, as did the second low responsive bid. This concludes procurement's report.
Is the appellant in the audience? Did you wish? You want to come forward, identify yourself for the record, and.
My name is Victor Corrales. I'm the owner of VIX HVAC Repair. I'm a resident of Tucson all my life. I've worked for the county for 10 years doing the program, and I'm a new license, and I was trying to fill all the paperwork out, and I understood that it was something that was in the pamphlet already. I didn't know that it needed to have a license, and that's where my mistake was. But I like to, keep going and doing what I do as the county of Tucson, Arizona. I've been doing it for 10 years, and I enjoy, taking care of the people in our community. And I like to see if I could just keep doing it. So I would see if they could waiver that or somehow. That I do have all the information. I had everything with me. I just didn't know it was stated that it needed to be in the pamphlet. So where my mistake was that, my bid seemed to be pretty reasonable. So I was wondering if it could be wavered any way for me to keep going and keep community, supplying my community with the help and air conditioning and heating and cooling that I do for them.
Okay. Any questions of the?
Madam Chairman, when I read through this contract, it was very clear that they required the reference letters and the licenses as the procurement director stated, and I understand you made a mistake, and mistakes are made, but that doesn't change the rules that they have to follow in the procurement department. And so I would like to close the public hearing if there are no further speakers on this, and make a motion to uphold the decision of the procurement director pursuant to Pima County Code Section 1120.010J.
Is there a second for the motion? Second. Motion and a second to uphold the procurement director's decision. I think it's unfortunate because your mistake was, I think, curable.
No. This is not an impossible one in the sense that he has that material and always has had that material. My question to George is, where are you at, George? There you are. What was the mistake Oracle Control made?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Elias, Oracle Control System also did not provide the license or references.
So how does it that both of these companies both made the same mistake? That just seems odd to me, George.
I'm sorry, I can't speak to that. I don't know.
There was nothing odd, you thought, in the RFP or how it was written that might have been confusing to people? Because this man has been doing this work for 10 years? I mean, that just doesn't ring right in my mind for some reason, George.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Elias, I believe, and the incumbent supplier for the last 5 years was Tron Heating and Cooling. And I believe, if I understand correctly, Vic's HVAC repair was a subcontractor to Tron. So if that relationship still exists, I believe he'll possibly get some business as a secondary supplier.
Right, I understand that, and you know, believe me, I'm concerned about this gentleman in front of me, but I got two companies both saying the same thing. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I can understand Vic here comes and he honestly, like Supervisor Miller said, he made a mistake and there's consequences to that. He understands that. He's asking for some understanding on that. I'm just saying I don't see anybody here from Oracle Control Systems. How many people responded to this RFP, George?
Supervisor Elias, there were 7 responses. 1 was a no bid. Of those 6 actual bid responses, there were 3 that did not provide the license or references, and then 1.
So 3 did not now.
3 did not.
Okay.
And 1 did not provide references, but did provide a license.
And 1. So how many good bids did we have, George?
We had 2.
2. Okay. I'm perplexed that it came out that way. Go ahead, speak into the microphone,
please.
The
difference in the bids were like over $200,000 from mine to the other one that got the job, that got the bid.
Right. There was a wide range. I saw that as well in the background material.
And I was just, you know, like when I read, I thought you had to have it, that you didn't have to provide it, but you had to have it. That's what I had thought.
Okay.
That was my mistake.
Yeah.
It's okay.
That was an error on your part,
Yep.
sir.
Any further questions? There's a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. Motion, I guess we
Counsel?
continue it for tiebreaker, Ms. Counsel?
Yes, according to your board rules, F3, a tie vote will result in the postponement of consideration of a matter until the next regularly scheduled board meeting.
Good.
Okay.
But not including a meeting scheduled for the following day. Since you're not having one tomorrow, I think you're good for the next meeting.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Carroll.
since the August 19th meeting is a special Monday meeting, you might want to just push it into September, but I asked George Whittegris, is that going to delay anything that's going to cause a delay in service? Is there any way that they could do that until September, Mr. Whittegris?
Madam Chair, And Supervisor Carroll, to be completely honest right now, I'm not certain. Although we can figure out a way to bridge the gap until this item is heard by the board and a final determination is made, even if we have to provide an interim amendment or purchase order to effect the necessary repairs. So yes, we can handle that.
Well, I know you're skilled in your job, and I thank you for your presentation and the answer you gave, George. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Supervisor
I
Elias.
move that we continue this item to our first meeting in September.
Second.
Motion and a second to continue. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to Development Services, Unfinished Business, Zoning Code Text Amendment, Home Occupation. Please tell me this is the last time we're going to see this.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Chris Poirier, Pima County Development Services. We are essentially requesting that the board deny the request. We had originally included the home occupation expansions as part of a larger omnibus text amendment that was heard by the board February 5th of this year. The board did approve several of the other items within the omnibus, but continued the home occupation items and also instructed staff to bring it back in two parts. One part was the home-baked goods, which is before you today, under the idea that there wasn't a lot of expectation of neighbor concern, and then later to bring back the remainder of the home occupation expansion, which there was indication of neighbor concern. At the end of the day, there was neighbor concern over both aspects. Staff, we are currently undergoing a change to our comprehensive plan, and as a result, we're hoping there may be some policy guidance that could address some of the concerns that the neighbors have presented regarding the expansion of home occupations and what we're trying to do. As a result, staff did originally request that the commission initiate this amendment. Now we're requesting that the board deny it. We'll take a look at it at a better time when we have more tools to solve the issues presented to us.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Supervisor Carroll. Well, no, I have a speaker.
Oh, you do?
Mm-hmm. Ms. Myers?
Pardon me.
Yeah.
Judith Meyer, I have to shorten this, for us pipsqueaks, Judith Meyer, I reside at 3785 North Camino de Oeste, Tucson, Arizona, outside of Tucson in Pima County. But I'm here as the spokesperson for the Tucson Mountains Association on this matter, as I've mentioned before. We fully support the staff's recommendation that this be denied. Our concern is not with people having home occupations, which in this digital era is a good conservationist position. Our concern is with commercial traffic, although there seems to have been an attitude that, well, home-baked goods and confectionery, that just means little old ladies like me baking goodies to, sell in the farmer's market or whatever. But in fact, could mean a lot of commercial vans and trucks delivering supplies and picking up product. As we pointed out before, the square footage that was recommended might be all that a lot of local bakeries have for their commercial enterprises. So that was the concern. In our residential neighborhoods, we want to avoid that. We had suggested some language to the Development Services Department that might cure that problem, but we haven't been able to come to terms. We therefore fully support denial. Thank you for your time.
What's the pleasure of the board? Supervisor Carroll.
Madam Chair, I move that we close the public hearing and deny the zoning. I move.
Nope, you still don't. No, try it again.
Close the public hearing and deny zoning code text amendment C08-13-01.
Second.
Motion and a second to deny. Any objections? Motion carries. Does the board want to take about a 10-minute break and then we'll resume? Okay. We'll resume at the sound of the gavel. We're going to resume the meeting with item number 28, a Type 3 conditional use permit, P21-13-013. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in opposition to this item at this time? If not, I am going to move that we close the public hearing and approve subject to standard and special conditions as recommended by the Commission and the hearing administrator.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Are there any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to item 29, Type 2 Conditional Use Permit P21-13-006.
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Carroll.
Is there anyone in the audience representing the Fisher application for a Type 2 conditional use permit? Seeing no one in the audience yet, seeing that staff has recommended approval.
Are you right? You in support? Okay, all right.
Hello, Ms. Fisher.
Hi.
Thanks for introducing yourself. Go ahead with the support of staff to approve the subject standard with standard and special conditions P21-13-006.
Close the hearing.
And close the hearing, of course.
Motion and a second to approve. Are there any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to item 30, rezoning C0909-09.
Madam Chairman,
Supervisor Miller.
if there is no one in the audience wishing to speak on this item, I move that we close the public hearing and approve the rezoning C09-09-09 and to approve with standard and special conditions the request of Orange Grove LLC represented by Kramer and Kramer Architecture.
I'll second. Is there any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to item 31, concurrent comp plan amendment and rezoning C07-1309, C09-1304. Staff report, and it's my understanding that we can make one motion. Is that correct?
Yes.
It's a concurrent plan amendment and a rezoning.
Yes.
It's going to require separate motions or just one?
One.
Just one.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, are there any speakers?
We have three speakers who are all in support. Is that correct? They're all in support. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chairman, I move that we accept the concurrent comprehensive plan amendment and rezoning C07-13-09 and C09-13-04, approval of the comprehensive plan amendment with a rezoning policy and a rezoning with standard and special conditions, and also C07-1309, approval of the comprehensive plan amendment with a rezoning policy, and close the public hearing.
I'll second. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to item 32, Pima Code Text Amendment, Ordinance 2013-34. We have several speakers. Staff report.
Madam Chair and members of the board, my name is Ursula Kramer with the Department of Environmental Quality. The item before you does two things. It amends the current solid waste ordinance in order to update them to reflect the new operations with our contractor, Tucson Recycling and Waste Services. And it also proposes to amend the fees that we charge at our solid waste locations. The language changes to the ordinance are, like I said, they're fairly straightforward cleanup items. There are no major changes there that will affect operations. But the fee proposal is that fees will be set for 5 years at all of our facilities. They remain the same at for the first year at all of the locations where we currently charge fees, but they would add fees for the Ajo landfill. We currently do not charge fees at Ajo, although we do charge fees at all our other locations. We did do a public notice on this amendment proposal, and we held a public meeting in Ajo. Your packet includes the comments and our response to comments that we received. There were a lot of comments and concerns raised in Ajo. The primary concern that the residents voiced is that they do not want a transfer station. We had at one point mentioned the possibility of closing the landfill and installing a transfer station at a location in Ajo. And that is not something that we are moving forward with at this time. And we've responded excuse me, to the comments that if we do move forward with such a proposal in the future, that we will work with the community and determine an appropriate location that meets everybody's needs. So no transfer station, and like I said, that was the majority of the comments that we received. In addition, there were extensive concerns about the fees. Most people said that they were concerned that charging fees was going to result in increased dumping in the desert. As you know, we currently do have an illegal dump program run through the Department of Environmental Quality for Pima County. Our very excellent inspector, Kenrick Custer, does most of the work on that with the assistance of some of the...
When's the last time he's been to Ajo?
He's been in Ajo within the past several weeks. We've asked him
Since then, before then?
He has gone to Ajo typically once a month or so, and we have other inspectors that go out when we have
That's my next question. Is he the only inspector, or is there someone in Ajo who could do that?
We do not have anybody in Ajo, although I have thought that it might be something to discuss to work with some of the other departments that do have staff in Ajo. I know that the Department of Transportation and the and Parks and Recreation folks are also in Ajo, so we could possibly do something with them. We have in the past had somebody from Parks stop by and keep an eye on what's going on at the landfill itself and report back to us. So I thought it would be good to try and take advantage of some of those opportunities. Right now, we do just have one illegal dump inspector for the whole county, and he does a phenomenal job, but he is just one person. So what our plan was going forward is to have him focus most of his attention on the Ajo area if the fee is approved, and then as a result of that, we would know how significant a problem we have if we do indeed have an increase in illegal dumping, and then be able to develop an appropriate response plan based on the volume and the significance of those illegal dump issues. In response to the public comments, we did reduce the proposal for fees for the residents. They are still $5 proposed in the first year, but then they don't increase rapidly over the next 5 years as it was originally proposed. And we also established a new category, a commercial category for green waste haulers. We had a lot of comments from people, both residents and the small green waste folks who do landscaping out there, saying that the costs that were proposed would be a burden on their businesses. So we worked with the community and reduced the fees. We established a separate category and pulled that out from the regular commercial haulers so that they will pay a lower fee than what was originally proposed.
So you have at this point, and that's in the current ordinance?
It's in the proposal that's before you today, is the green waste, yes.
Okay. All right.
Madam Chair?
Supervisor.
I'd just like to comment that I know that in Midvale neighborhood, and we have the president of the Midvale Neighborhood Association, we have a considerable problem with illegal dumping as well. And some of that is county property, and we have yet to be able to discern which is which. And so that problem really needs to be dealt with. And maybe your department and our inspector can help with that, but if you'd work with my office, and we'll work together with the Midvale Neighborhood Association to see what we can do about getting some of that stuff cleaned up, or at least some kind of response to people. Because there's commercial dumping there that goes on as well in an odd form of shopping carts and other stuff. But nevertheless, it is a significant problem there in that particular neighborhood as well.
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Carroll.
If I might, Madam Chair, thank you for being here, Ursula. I'd like to say Kedrick Custer has done a great job over the years that I've been here at Pima County. I've worked with him and around him and seen the type of work he can do. I want to ask, I hate to make work for anybody, especially Mr. Custer, But with the far-flung parts of Pima County, whether it's Reddington, as we had a representative from there, or Ajo, or Mount Lemmon, or parts of Sahuarita, the very far edges of Pima County that are outside jurisdictions, is there any way that we can borrow some help from an SAV type of organization? I mean, people love our desert. They hate to see it desecrated by illegal dumping. Is there any way that we could ask the SAV to borrow some eyes and ears? I'm not saying deputize anybody under your department, but is there any time that we can get together with the Sheriff's Auxiliary Volunteers? If other board members think that's a bad idea, they can talk to me later, but there's a lot of chance, I would think, for someone to get involved in helping identify, and without going too far, identify and locate some of the perpetrators as well as some of the illegal sites, because in a 10,000 square mile county, we acknowledge one person cannot combat the immorality and desecration that occurs by the perpetrators, who are obviously not interested in at any cost making the long haul sometimes to a landfill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you look into that?
Yes, I'd be happy to do that.
I know that our sergeant at arms is here, and he's got contacts at the sheriff's department.
You're going to cross-train him?
He might be able to lead you to the right person over there, but he's too light for heavy work and too heavy for light work. We're going to keep him right here at the board.
Madam Chair.
I, for one, never doubt Jim's capability myself.
We'd be happy to look into it, and the SAVs, of course, I think are also active in the Ajo area, so that might be another venue that we could explore.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
taking that suggestion. Thank you very much.
All right, we have several speakers. Mr. Pyle, are you still with us? Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm Tom Pyle. I live at 1029 East 26. And while I'm not familiar with the exact things being proposed on new dump regulations, I, for one, kind of yearn for the old days when the dump was a very free-form thing and often unattended, but I know new laws make that probably not what can be done anymore. The transfer stations, I've seen a lot of them pop up. To me, they look like they're extremely overbuilt and overdesigned and very, very costly. I would figure something much simpler could be done with much less money. Unless, of course, there's federal demands of how they must be built. The one in Catalina immediately comes to mind. That used to be somewhere you could drive in 24 hours a day and dump, and now they have a transfer station there that looks like it cost $1 million to build. I wouldn't think that would be necessary. Naturally, I hate to see rates go up, and of course with the rates they have hours of attendance that seem to vary, and it's usually good that you phone and see when they're open. The whole thing seems unnecessarily complex. Does the city of Tucson have to pay the county to dump? Or
If they do in our landfills, yes. But they have their own landfill.
Oh, okay.
But if were they to come to any of our landfills, they would be charged. Double? Is that a new rule?
It wasn't completely clear of how the Tucson waste fees might be increased if the county fees were increased. It would seem like this hopefully would be an area that costs could be held in check. I'm sure that's what you're trying to do also.
Yeah, what we're trying to do is cost recovery. so that we don't have to raise taxes.
Anyway, I wasn't familiar with Aho's situation. It seemed like the sheriff, if this is a law, would be the one that could be called to enforce it. I'm sure they have higher priority things to do also.
Probably.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Sorrells? And I want to thank you. You came, I know, all the way here from Ajo, and we'll give you a little more than 3 minutes since that's a couple-hour drive.
I was going to say 5 hours for 3 minutes. This is not a good investment, folks. I speak only from, I'm Robert Sorrells. I live in Ajo. I'm a property owner, small business.
Yeah, we need your address for the record, if you could.
Oh, 301 East 2nd Avenue.
Thank you.
Which, even in Ajo, they don't seem to know where that is. Anyway, I'm a small businessman, entrepreneur, get involved in too many things. There's been, I'm not overstating it, there's been an extraordinary amount of concern, anger, upsetness about the whole thing of taking something that was, we believed, paid for by our taxes and raising the tax by calling it a transfer fee or an entry fee. I mean, come on, folks. You raise the tax, you call it a use fee. Same thing. Okay, most of us say, all right, we're stuck with that. We're not going to beat that one. The first major concern is that going from a no fee to, at this point, $5 is going to have a really significant effect on particularly those who are barely making it in Ajo. Now, I don't know how many of you are ever really spending time in Ajo, but we are really not like Tucson. We just, I mean, first, we are so grateful that we now can recycle. I got to tell you, we're just so pleased.
And that's partly because you pushed it, so thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we made a lot of noise, and finally something happened.
You did make a lot of noise.
We were saving it up for months to haul it to Buckeye or something. So, and I really wish that this board would direct the Department of Environmental Quality to work with the Ajo schools to develop curriculum items, particularly at the elementary level. There's nothing so zealous as an 8-year-old that's
for
out
recycling.
Yeah, for recycling, because it's something that we don't really know how to do. I have read the regulations. I see the current proposal. It is not clear whether or not a person who comes in to simply recycle is going to be charged.
Let's clarify that. Ms. Kramer?
A person who comes in only for recycling would not be charged.
Good, because that defeats the whole point. That defeats the whole point. The second major issue we have is that the vegetable matter that all of us in cutting our trees and gardening, we're working very hard for food security there. We've doubled the number of gardens over the last year. We need compost. Throwing it in the ground is such a waste. I would like the consideration that we get a chipper, a shredder, or something. The contractor could sell it back to us. I mean, I'm always looking for compost. It seems to me like it's such an incredible waste to throw this stuff in the ground when we could reuse it in the community to help grow things. So that's a suggestion. The next suggestion is that $5 that's a real smack in the face for us. If you have to go to the dump 4 times, once a week, that's $20. That's more than most people pay for their gas bill. That's 1/3 of the AIC bill. That's sewer, water, electricity. We have many residents that they really are on the edge. I mean, I'm not one of them, but I'm not very far from them. And like many people, I work 3-4 jobs, so I like it, and I'm not complaining. But if you would start, say, at $3, and then say $1.50, and then $1.50, at least we can get into it, because I guarantee you, the minute that there's any kind of impediment to dumping, it's going in the desert. I don't know how many tens of thousands of square miles there are around us. No one can completely police it. And I understand that we have one person to do it. That person lives over here. Folks don't make it our side of the county all that often. The final thing is, I find it completely unconscionable that there is no variation in what the charge is per size of vehicle. I have a half-ton pickup truck. I guarantee you it will be full when I pay my $5. But I can't tell you how many times I've been to the dump and helped an elderly couple pull 3 or 4 bags of garbage out of the trunk of their Toyota. I don't see that that's fair. There should be some differentiation on if it's a car, make it $2 less or something. It just doesn't seem fair.
I share your concern. I don't know, Ms. Kramer, Mr. Huckleberry, how would you? It's an issue we've been struggling with, and
I know that we don't want to weigh. I understand that costs a lot of money to weigh.
Right.
But just by size of vehicle, you can't put as much in a car as you can in a pickup truck. So.
Madam Chair, how we've addressed this before, and we've kind of, if I recall, we started these individual fees in the Tucson metro area probably 10, 15 years ago, and we used to differentiate between an automobile and a truck. Now, it's probably fine, and my guess is I don't know if we've considered an automobile and a truck differentiation, but perhaps one of the things you could do, if that's an issue, you could start off the fee at $3 for the automobile and $5 for the truck.
That would be.
I mean, it's how do you start? What we find over time, it makes no difference, but it's, I think, that initial period where people begin to, figure out how to
There's
take
no
their
doubt that
garbage
people with
into
cars are bringing less in. I mean, my truck's full, I guarantee you.
And
I've got my neighbors too.
If we were to amend the ordinance to for AHO include $3 for cars and $5 for pickups, would that require a rehearing? Since this is less onerous, I would think we can move forward with it. Correct.
My understanding, and I defer, of course, to Mr. Straub, but it's lower than was originally noticed, so the board could adopt that.
Okay.
So $3 isn't going to go. I can't sell you on starting at $3.
No. I mean, we can
Okay.
for a car, but
I understand.
Okay.
Well,
you want a truck?
I got 24 people say go ask for less. So
You got less.
You got less.
Okay.
Or no,
that
you
will
might
help.
get less.
That will definitely help. That will definitely help. I understand there is some kind of exemption or something based on income level. I don't know how hard that is to do. We don't have any information in AHO.
Yeah, no, and that's a problem, and I think before this gets implemented, we need someone probably, I think that comes through Hank's shop, doesn't it?
Comes through community services, and what we can do is have community services staff attend AHO, provide all the information, all the web connections and sites that people can apply if they feel they're warranted.
Well, we want to do the right thing, but we are talking some choices on some of these families' parts.
No, I absolutely.
Am I going to eat or am I going to throw
it
in the desert?
No, I absolutely. There's no question about that. So we have to deal with that. The reality is when I first came on the board and we had this, they started imposing fees at the other landfills and at the transfer stations. For about 12 years we would keep it away from AHO, but it's at the point now where its general fund subsidy is so large that it's almost. I mean, we just can't continue.
We understand that we've been getting away with it, so okay.
Well, no, it's just.
Well, we thought we were getting it on the taxes we were paying, which is what we were doing, obviously.
Well,
but
yeah,
now it's not
because
working.
it's a general fund, and as the federal dollars shrink, as our tax base shrinks, we're making hard choices.
We're all doing the same thing, but. I really would like to suggest that the Department of Environmental Quality liaison with the AHO Unified Schools System and really see if we can get I was a professional educator. I guarantee you, if you turn the 8-year-olds onto it, it's going to affect the way the families do things. It would be a really nice thing if we could do that. So anyway, thank you for your time, and I know I'm over 3 minutes.
And thank you for driving all the way up here.
Yeah, I got to drive back. Okay, thank you.
Safe trip back, and in these monsoons, I always get stuck. What's the one wash for Maury? Was it running? It was running this month. Yeah.
You're familiar with your board members for the AHO Unified School District, and I'm sure that Ursula Kramer would give you a business card. Are they still John Burns, Rose Cameron, Marcia Duncan?
No, I think you got some
old ones. Well,
yeah.
please get her card to them, and we'd love to help you with that.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm concerned when we talk about doing programs to help people who are low income in departments different than community services. We've been operating a program like that with our wastewater division as well, and it is unfriendly, it does not work well, and it is really burdensome on those families that choose to participate in it. So if we're going to go down this road, which I really think we should, because I think the speaker was absolutely right, I'd just like to see us maybe revamp that program into something that's more user-friendly. We don't need to go to means testing, because that's the one where it becomes much more time-intensive and more costly. But we can do something that's a variation on it that I think that'll improve its usability for people, because having them come back every year for that becomes problematic when, frankly, most of the people who take advantage of these programs are on a fixed income, and their income is not going to change. But anyways, I just caution people to think about that, and maybe we can revamp that program for sewer as well while we're doing this with solid waste. I just think it makes sense.
It is very cumbersome, and I
Absolutely.
would think that Mr. Athen or the folks in community services could come up with a more simplified version that
I would hope so. Anyway, I just had to mention that because I know it's an issue of ongoing problem.
Yeah.
User-friendly to people. Thank you, sir.
Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to comment on this item at this time? If not, what's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Elias.
I'll move that we approve items 32, including ordinance 2013-34, and item 33 as well, including ordinance 2013-35, with a change to the Ajo transfer station fee schedule, so that we differentiate.
It's not a
between
transfer
car.
station, it's police.
I'm
Don't
sorry.
say transfer station.
I'm sorry, yeah, that's right, that's the bad word. I apologize to everybody in Ajo if you're listening out there, and to our friend that's here. But rather the fee schedule over there, so that we differentiate between a car and a truck, and that the fee for cars should be $3.
And the fee for trucks, $5.
$5.
Okay.
Second.
There's motion and a second.
So includes closing the public hearing.
And we close the public hearing? Is that okay?
Yes, we close the public
thank
hearing.
You. I would entertain, or I would like to, I don't know if this would be an amendment, or we could just do it as a direction sans the, with this motion, and that is, as Mr. Sorrell has indicated, that we ask staff at DEQ to work with Ajo schools to develop a recycling curriculum, and that we also look at the possibility of have staff develop a proposal in conjunction with Ajo, with the folks in Ajo, to see if there's some possibility to do some composting. And that may be through ISDA. Maybe some sort of we can get a grant for a shredder or something, I don't know. But there may be some possibility there. But let's explore the opportunity at least. And that, I think you wanted, with the means testing, you wanted to add.
No, I'd just like to have a revamped program for low-income families that
and
need
that
to
we
qualify for that.
Yeah, okay. But we direct staff prior to the ordinance going into effect, the fees going into effect, that they send staff down to Ajo to let people know how to qualify and to qualify them prior to the.
Right. And I would think that all that's okay as a part of my motion, but I think it's clear our direction, and I hate to institutionalize all that stuff.
No, I don't want. No, I don't want to do it in the
amendment.
ordinance, but I want as further direction to staff.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I think it's clear that that's all of our minds.
And then, okay, we've got a motion on the floor in several directions. Is there any further comments by board members? Any objections? Then, what?
Green waste.
Green waste. Oh, what?
You're including the green waste
We're
disposal
including
option.
we're including the green waste proposal option. That's correct.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. If there are no objections, motion carries. And I have one other caveat. We got today a 13-page letter from Tina West in Ajo, Arizona. She has some concerns. I would like staff to respond to her. I think that, Mary Jo, you have this, don't you? And it's on the webpage with the addendum material, or with the agenda material. So if we could get a response to Ms. West, I would appreciate it. All right, there were no objections.
Supervisor Brownson?
Yes.
We don't have any objections, I don't think, but if we could make this part of the public record, obviously it is because it's been accepted as agenda material, but if it could be posted on the website as a part of the background material.
Okay.
I think that would, because we received it before the meeting. I
Right.
think it's appropriate that we post it that way.
Okay. Yeah, and Supervisor Carroll had read it over the weekend. No.
Fabulous reading.
Okay. Okay, there's a motion and a second. There were no objection. Motion carries. That was items 32 and 33, and let's move on then to transportation.
Madam Chair?
Supervisor Elias.
I'll go ahead and move items 35 and 36, close the public hearings, including ordinances numbers 2013-36 and resolution number 2013-64.
Second. The motion is second for 35 and 36. Item 34 was removed. We now are on the
Number 3.
agenda.
Item 3.
Item 3.
Madam Chair, if we don't have any speakers, I'll go ahead
We
and...
have one
Oh, we
speaker.
do? Okay,
yeah.
good. Artie?
Looks like Art Mendoza.
No.
Oh, Art, yeah. You're still here. I wondered
here.
why you were still here.
Madam Chair, Board, my name is Art Mendoza. I'm with SCIU, Local 48. I live at 6151 East 17th Street. Yeah, you know, I just want to come up and make a couple quick comments in regards to this. You know, we did a just informal survey of county employees in regards to changing this holiday. And what we found is, for the most part, employees welcome the change. But you know, the one concern that we did hope to get some clarification on is how this would affect folks that work the 4-10 schedule, since this holiday would be switching to a Friday. How would that affect their work week, especially with 2 holidays during that week? They just wanted to be assured that they'd be able to
They get a holiday.
They'd get a holiday. So that's the only concern that they really had. But other than that,
And I think Mr. Huckleberry's indicating that would be the case. And do they get to choose, or is it department? How is that handled?
Typically, they'll work a compressed work week and take the holidays off, so they may basically, have only, 20-hour work week that particular week. They'll get 2 holidays.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I think that was the concern they had, and as long as we can address that, I think folks, for the most part, welcomed it.
I'm not sure I understood your answer, Chuck. They compress the work week?
Yes.
So that you still get an extra day off, aside from, in this particular case, Thanksgiving?
Correct.
So those people would work 2 days?
Correct.
Okay, got it. Fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Supervisor Elias.
I'll go ahead and move items 3A and B, including resolution 2013-68.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to real property, items 5, 6, and 7. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I'm going to go ahead and move real property items 5, 6, and 7.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve under real property items 5, 6, and 7. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to contract and awards, community services, employment and training, items 8 through 18. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I'll go ahead and move items 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve items 8 through 18. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 19, county attorney, and item 20. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I'll go ahead and move items 19 and 20.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve items 19 and 20. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. That concludes the meeting for today. We are now at call to the audience. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board at this time? Please come forward, identify yourself, name and address for the record. and you have 3 minutes. And you realize that it's called to the audience, so we are not able to respond to you.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
I was just reading that. It's my first time here.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. I recently had a problem coming home at night. There was a car passed me, and the flashing camera went off, and causing me not to be able to see the road. I was swerving off the road, and as you all, everybody here, every district supervisor, I've called every office. The only one that returned any of my calls was Mr. Olivas' office. Sent the sheriff's department to do an investigation. Thank you very much.
Actually, our office did, too.
They said his office did. I even have a
I
recording
think
from
we
the
both
officer.
did. No, I mean, we got it on. We got on it right away.
All right. Well, I appreciate your office too then.
Yeah,
Because
well,
somebody
I mean,
sent
well,
the
I mean,
sheriff's
you
department.
had an issue.
Right. So the officer went out and did an investigation and everything, and he called me back and left me a message saying that, yes, the lights were too bright, they were above recommended safety standards, and that they were going to change the light bulbs from 500 to 300 watts, but I'm just wondering who's overseeing this entire operation. Why was there ever a 500-watt light bulb on a highway that has absolutely no ambient lighting, causing reckless endangerment situations on the highway where my grandchildren, probably your people's grandchildren and everything else is on that same highway. And myself, I've been a driver most of my life. I mean, my whole life, actually. I started driving at 5. Yeah, well, rebuilt my first engine at 8. I won the 2006 Dirt Track Championship here in Tucson, so I do know how to drive. Once I was blinded, I couldn't see the road. I knew I had to stay straight and I not towards the left where the car was passing me because that would cause a collision. I swerved towards the side of the road and I ended up in the dirt, which if there would have been a pedestrian on the side of the road, there would have been no way for me to see them or even know they were there.
Can
And
you tell us the location?
South Old Nogales Highway. Oh, and my address is 11789 South Old Nogales Highway.
And well, speaking of that, you fill out your green card and make sure the clerk gets it, your
Oh,
name
okay. I
and
thought that was
address.
only for the things that were on the.
No, we
Oh.
need it for, yeah, so when you're finished.
Well, the thing is I'm not getting a ticket in the mail, and
No.
neither is the guy that passed me
Right.
because he had Sonora, Mexico plates. And the officer also informed me that he's not going to send them a citation. And he's also not going to make any arrests for the reckless endangerment situation that was on the highway. He refused.
Well, I think if you want to know more about the contract that we have with the folks who operate those, why don't you talk to Mr. Huckleberry afterwards? He can get you in touch with the right person. That way we're within the confines of law and responding to you, and making sure you get the information you need, but not here during session, okay?
Right.
That way you can figure it
Right.
out from there.
All right.
We'll work with you.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank
And
you.
again, make sure you fill that out.
Yeah, I'll fill all right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I think they already have. All right, no. All right, is there anyone else who wishes to address us at this time? If not, this meeting stands adjourned.